I was addicted to alcohol for 40 years and I'm never going back. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, right? But my aunt used to actually feed me alcohol in my beer bottle, in my baby bottle. And she also mentioned putting a nipple on the little pony beers that they had back then. I think they were the little Miller High Life beers or something like that. And so growing up, like I really never thought anything was wrong with drinking alcohol, because even whenever my dad wasn't at work, he was at home drunk with my grandpa. So what would you expect from me, right? Until I had my own children. I remember a time where my wife would make the kids go to their rooms whenever I was coming home drunk because me picking fights with the kids or whatever. And I was like, what the f? Because I was completely unaware of my behavior at that time. And reflecting back, I hated that my family was scared of me. Constantly living in fear of setting off a ticking time bomb, not knowing how or when I was gonna lash out. I can't remember how many times my wife asked me to quit drinking, but I just couldn't. I didn't know how. It was truly all I knew. It really brought me to a dark place where I wish that I wouldn't wake up the next day, because I just felt like it was easier than trying to beat the addiction, and maybe my wife and my kids would be happier if I wasn't here anymore. But I knew deep down inside this was the coward's way out, and I'm no coward. So I had to make some changes and show them that I'm a better person than that drunken person that nobody wanted to be around. And so at that moment, I made a decision and I made a promise to myself and to my family that I would do whatever it took to break free from this horrible addiction and be the loving father and husband that they all deserve. From that time on, my journey to healing and recovery began. So I wanted to learn more about why I was stuck in this bad habit, why I was stuck with this horrible addiction. So I asked myself, why was I using alcohol as a way to temporarily escape my reality? Was it to numb my emotions and temporarily forget about my problems and my pressures at work? Was it because deep down inside, I wasn't truly happy with myself, and this was a way of me pushing that down, suppressing it, and not seeing the truth? Or was it because in social gatherings with family, friends, I struggled to say no? And why do I feel so uncomfortable by letting people down? And so after hiring coaches, joining coaching groups, having a therapist, and growing through an extensive trauma class, I was able to learn more about my emotions and how they only not affected me, but everyone around me as well. So over time, I became more self-aware. I was able to control my emotions. I was able to control those outbursts of frustrations and finally reclaim my life and becoming the husband and the father that I was meant to be. I've learned the importance of open communication and empathy in building healthy, strong relationships with my wife and my children. And I now have a better understanding of their wants and their desires. I love my family and I'm proud of the person that I'm becoming. And this is why I do what I do as a relationship coach. I see so many others struggling in their relationships, feeling alone in their relationships, even though their partners are right there with them. Having to walk on eggshells because their voice isn't being heard is just unfair and undeserving for anyone. The lack of communication and misunderstandings between one another leads to feeling unhappy, feeling undervalued, and holding grudges towards one another, and so many more issues. I understand that sometimes we may feel like change is impossible, or we could do it on our own, or we don't want people to know our business. But having someone that understands where you're at and those feelings and those emotions of uncertainty can help you get there so much faster. It truly starts with becoming more self-aware. The more self-aware we become, the more empathetic we become. We learn to listen to understand instead of listening to respond. Sometimes all we need is someone that can help us to understand ourselves better. Someone that creates that safe space for us to open up and express those vulnerabilities. So right now, if you're tired of the endless misunderstandings, holding grudges and resentment towards one another, and you want to learn effective communication skills, rebuild that lost connection and light that spark back up in your relationship, then I can help. Send me a message and I'm more than willing to give you a free coaching session to help resolve your issues that are sabotaging your relationship. Let's be more happy together.